At around 16 billion US dollars, Bacardi is one of the largest companies in the world. If you've ever been on a night out, Bacardi's signature white rum could well have been in that mojito, rum and coke or daiquiri you may have had. But behind the laughter Bacardi's rum brings is the astounding epic of how a Brickie's boy triumphed over disaster, despair and devastation to begin a billion-dollar business. Bacardi takes its name from Facundo Bacardi. He was the son of a Brickie, a bricklayer, someone who builds walls with bricks. Born in Sitges, a town in Catalonia in Spain, Bacardi had to leave home at the age of 15 for a new life in faraway Cuba. When Bacardi was born and growing up, Spain was recovering from Napoleon's wars and from the American Wars, which resulted in Mexico and other countries in the Americas becoming independent from the Spanish Empire. By losing her empire in the Americas, Spain lost her main source of wealth and got herself into a right mess. This meant that when Catalonia received permission to trade in the Americas in the 1820s, Bacardi's brothers moved to Cuba, which at the time was still a part of the Spanish Empire, like many other Catalonians did. Bacardi joined them there a few years later. The brothers worked together in their general store, where Bacardi learned the ropes, worked hard and eventually saved enough to open up a shop of his own. 3 years before opening his shop, he met a rich lady named Lucia. Lucia's family was French and had been living in Haiti for generations. They called Lucia Amalia, and Bacardi did the same. Amalia and Bacardi were married in 1843, 3 years after they met and 3 months before Bacardi opened his shop. The next year, they had a son called Emilio. Life couldn't be better for Bacardi, but it was. He had 3 more children in quick succession and his shop did very well indeed. But 9 years of being blissful and carefree suddenly ended when, in 1852, a tremendous earthquake measuring 7 on the Richter scale reduced Santiago, the town Bacardi and Amalia lived in, to rubble. This was followed by an outbreak of cholera in which the Bacardis lost 2 children. Juan was 6, while baby Maria was not even a year old. To protect his family, Bacardi brought Amalia and his surviving children to Spain. They went to Sitges, the place where Bacardi was born and where his parents still were. Later in that same year, Bacardi went back to Cuba alone. He found Santiago levelled flat by yet another earthquake and his shop looted. Once a prosperous shopkeeper and father of 4, Bacardi now faced not just the agony of losing 2 children, but the pain of seeing his adopted community shattered. Instead of moaning and sinking into despair, he distributed food to the community he was an immigrant in and was quick to lend money to rebuild Santiago. This backfired badly when nobody could give him back the money he had lent them, and in 1852, the same year he lost his shop and his children Juan and Maria, he was declared bankrupt and lost his business as well. It was then that Amalia came to Bacardi's rescue by returning to Cuba and to Bacardi with their children. Many men have buckled under such pressure and many women have left their husbands in less difficult circumstances, but Bacardi and Amalia had each other and they got on with life together as a team. At the same time as the earthquakes and cholera, there was also a downturn in the global demand for Cuba's main export, sugar. The sugar in Cuba was made from and continues to be made from a plant known as sugarcane. Essentially, the trunk of each sugarcane plant is crushed and squeezed until a sweet brown liquid called sugarcane juice flows out. Sugar is then extracted from the sugarcane juice. Though he was in Santiago, a part of Bacardi forever remained in Sitges. Sitges was famous for winemaking, and in the years that Bacardi was away and even before then, Sitges had survived on winemaking, with 3,000 hectares of vineyards recorded around 100 years before Bacardi's birth. Though he was a bricklayer, Bacardi's father knew how to make wine, and he used to make it. We now know that cholera can be spread through water that isn't boiled, but back in Bacardi's day no one knew this. There was no tap water, no sewage system, no such thing as drinking boiled water. People just knew that if they didn't earn enough to pay for tea and coffee, it wouldn't do to drink water on its own. Water had to be taken with alcohol. Alcohol is what results when people add sugar or sugary things and yeast to water. In a process known as fermentation, the yeast would consume the sugar and water and create alcohol. We now know that alcohol kills germs, including cholera, but back in Bacardi's day no one knew this. All that was known was that if you fermented sugars, you'd get alcohol, and alcohol was good for you if it was drunk with water. Wine is simply alcohol made from grape juice, but if sugarcane juice is used, the result is rum. Imagine now that you've got a foot in two worlds. On the one hand, your old home is famous for making wine. Now there aren't any grapes and vineyards in your new home, but all around you, your neighbours have lots of sugarcane and sugar that no one wants to buy. Hold on, if you can use sugary grape juice to make wine in your old home, why can't you use sugar and sugarcane juice to make rum in your new home? And Bacardi then knew what he had to do to help himself, his family, and his adopted community. He proceeded to use what he saw in winemaking in Sitges to make rum in Santiago. Bacardi's first act was to find and select a strain of yeast from Cuba to ferment sugarcane juice, and after the alcohol started forming, he kept his sugarcane juice in wooden barrels. Wooden barrels had been used for thousands of years in Sitges to make wine, but was completely new to rum making. Because of this, Bacardi discovered that depending on how long his sugarcane juice was left to ferment, he could make different rums with different flavours. He then worked out that he could mix these different rums together to make even more rums with different flavours. Things began to get very interesting. Bacardi then found out that molasses, which is what is left after sugar is extracted from sugarcane juice and which was dumped into the sea as waste in Cuba, was being sent to New England in the US to be made into, of all things, rum. It turned out that while the French used sugarcane juice to make rum, the English used molasses. Bacardi now tried using molasses and discovered that since molasses had already been boiled, all the microorganisms in it were killed and it could not ferment automatically, which meant that he could control the fermentation process by switching fermentation on and off. Furthermore, when compared to sugarcane juice, he only needed to use a small amount of molasses to make a huge amount of rum. He switched to using molasses to make rums. His next stroke of luck was that thanks to Amalia's godmother, he and Amalia had inherited a rental house with a French-speaking tenant living there called José Leon Boutier. Boutier's surname indicates that he came from family that handled wine, and he just happened to be a cognac maker. It was much like needing a locksmith and finding one named Lock or Smith around. If you boil and condense wine once to separate the alcohol from the water and other substances, you'd get brandy, but if you do this twice, you'd get cognac. This process, distillation, is used on wine which tastes absolutely horrible and would have been thrown away. Inspired by this, Bacardi got José León Botella to use his methods of distilling cognac from wine to distill rums made from molasses. The results were very, very, very good. Inspired by the use of charcoal in Cuba to remove impurities from sugar, Bacardi used charcoal to remove impurities from his rums. By doing this, he didn't just change the flavour of his rums but also their colours. Starting with sugarcane juice, Bacardi ended up with the jewel in his crown, a rum that was clear, colourless and tasted as if it were full of fire. He called it white rum. After 10 years, Bacardi declared that he was ready to sell his rums, and Amalia and her family gave him money to set up a rum-making factory. A family of bats soon set up camp at the factory, but rather than seeing them as pests and chasing them away, Amalia let them stay because in Spain and Cuba, bats are a symbol of good health, good luck and family unity. Amalia also must have seen how brave and unusual this family of bats were. Other bats were frightened away by the noises the factory made, but these bats, they saw right through the noise and stayed for the sweet, fruity smell of the molasses. Seeing that their many customers couldn't read or write, and after being inspired by the bats, Amalia had every container selling Bacardi's rums stamped with a bat logo, which helped Bacardi's rums to stand out even more. Over the next 24 years until he died at the age of 71 in 1886, Bacardi and his rum business helped many in Cuba to remain upbeat because, even though the demand for their sugar fell, the rise of his rums ensured that their sugarcane survived. His rums even got a royal seal of approval in 1892, after a Spanish doctor who had visited Cuba gave some of Bacardi's white rum to Prince Alfonso, who was suffering from a fever. After drinking Bacardi's rum, the prince fell asleep and recovered immediately. Everyone was up for a party after that. In the years that followed, Bacardi's rums began to be mixed with other drinks to form cocktails, and mixing cocktails in bars became an art in itself. The thing about Bacardi's rums is that nowadays they're there during parties and celebrations and at joyful events that bring people together. There'll always be a place for them. Some will scoff at Bacardi and Amalia, saying that they died leaving just a small house in Cuba, just a small family farm, and a company that battled bankruptcy. But there are some who will appreciate that what they really handed down was not just the perfect drink for parties, but life lessons in heritage, family, community, generosity, resilience, learning new skills, making opportunities, making the most of what you have, and having a zest for life itself. Think about it. Although 7 generations and 164 years stand between Bacardi and Amalia and the present, the Bacardi Rums, Bacardi Company, and Bacardi brand still remain within the Bacardi family, who have built on what their ancestors began into a global behemoth now worth $16 billion, which is not bad at all for a Brickie's boy. For more inspiring stories with actual business insights, hit that subscribe button and subscribe to Mobile Miscellany. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.